Hi, and welcome to the Do Good Letters. I think I meant to put this on private, and hopefully I did, because I wanted to just discuss this without any distraction of speaking to people, because why would I want to do that? Just kidding. But I'm here to talk about the ending of The Patient, the series on Hulu, starring Steve Carell. A lot of people really didn't like the ending. And I understand it's not the ending that we wanted, but I think it's the ending that was supposed to happen. Most people on Reddit, where I hang out quite a bit, really oppose of the ending. I found someone on here who agrees and that the ending was good, actually. And I'm going to read their thoughts because I like their thoughts. And I'm going to think about their thoughts and then talk about my thoughts when I thought about their thoughts and tell you what I think. So Alan's Fate in the Holocaust. This is by some poster. Leo the Lying Lion. Well, gosh, now we can't trust him, but I'm going to keep on going. As upset as the ending makes me, I think it echoes perfectly what the writers were doing with the, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word, so I'm going to say the cost of being hollow moments throughout the show. Now that we're a couple of generations away from the cost of being hollow, we're exposed to stories of survivors. We have the legacy of justice-based moments like the Nuremberg and Ekman trials, and much of the conclusion, in quotes, of stories about the cost of being hollow are about the perseverance of the Jewish people despite their genocide. But for millions and millions, they never lived that part of the story. Alan, Steve Carell's character, was caught in a desperately unjust, cruel situation over which he had little control. He decided just for once to try to reclaim his power, to take the biggest risk possible, and his life was taken for it. The audience was rooting for him. I know I was. We wanted things to work out fairly, for the right guy to win. But that's not how this story usually went. The prison guard caught him, and he was K'd. I was happy for Ellen that he passed on his own terms. I agree with that sentiment. He died after saying what needed to be said, deciding that he wouldn't be Sam's pet. No, he didn't get to die of old age, but he could have chosen to do that on that stupid couch next to the mini fridge. Instead, he took a chance with full knowledge of the risk. The scene before he passed of singing Shir Hamalot with his family is one of the loveliest things I've seen on TV. As a Jewish person who sees so little representation of what traditional Jewish life actually looks like, I'm glad he took us all to that moment. It was a very warm and very passionate, very loving moment. As for Sam, of course, it's bullshit he didn't suffer any real consequences. To extend the cost of the hollow metaphor, think of all the perpetrators who were able to live out the rest of their days in anonymity. I can't say that word very well. Want to try again? Anonymity. Anonymity. Okay. I'll quit butchering that. Think of the people who are responsible for the cost of being hollow who fled to South America. Sure, maybe they're suffering in a prison of their own making, like his attempt, but who buys that kind of justice? And then there's Candace, who knew what was going on and never said a word. Compare it to the people who saw the trains coming and going from concentration camps, who saw their neighbors being taken away, who maybe even turned them in and did nothing. As someone who grew up surrounded by the legacy of the Holocaust, as a granddaughter of a survivor, I find these parallels moving in a terrible aching sort of way. It's not the ending I wanted, but I do think it's beautifully written. Or she actually says, but I do think it's beautiful writing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and give you my face. This is a microphone, just in case. Yeah, life can really suck. I'm sure there's a word for that. We're all going in watching this story thinking the patient is the guy who has a problem with not liking Cheerios. But it turns out the patient is Alan. He actually gets to do something we don't normally do. Reflect on his whole life in enough detail where there's nothing else he can think about. The idea of not being here on Earth is so loud and in his face, he can't ignore it. He has to deal with it. He must deal with it. He deals with it. I agree with the sentiment of this person. He did get to pass on his own terms. He was able to say the things he needed to say and repair, to an extent, his relationship with his son. I understand that stinks because he wasn't able to do it in person, but are we sure that would ever occur if he were alive? It's the right type of environment for that type of pressure to be forced to say the things that we need to say. How many times have we all thought we've had one more day? We might not. And I'm not trying to be grim or morbid, but it's a reality that is not comfortable thinking about, so that we don't. I don't. I'm guilty of it. But moving back to this episode and not you guys becoming a therapy session for me, obviously, it was intentional that there was a parallel to The Cost of Being Hollow. I think there's so many levels and layers to this television show. It's kind of educational for those. And I say educational, I'm talking about The Cost of Being Hollow and the fact that we are, like they said, generations away. Even for people who fought to rescue those who were suffering the cost of being hollow. I don't think there are many people left to ask and hear the first person stories. I don't and haven't had a lot of interaction with Jewish people just because of geography. I grew up in the South, so I mean, yeah, I didn't even really see a Catholic church until I moved to South Carolina. So that tells you that. But hopefully this brings curiosity to some people to educate themselves further. Maybe it was all just an enticing story to get us to think deeper on different levels. There are lots of injustices in the world that don't turn out fair, that don't turn out right. And the right person doesn't win. They lose a lot, perhaps everything. So I agree with the sentiment of this person. I didn't like the ending, but it was the only ending that should have happened. That's unfortunate, but I think it's true. And that's why I really liked this show. Thanks for watching.